The Awakening. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council stood as a monument to 10,000 years of civilization. Crystalline spires reached toward the stars, and holographic displays showed the territories of 47 member species spread across 3 galactic arms. It was here, in this temple of diplomacy, that humanity received its answer. Ambassador Chen stood before the council with his delegation, humans in their pressed uniforms looking small against the towering forms of the council members. The Archon Prime, a being of pure energy contained within a ceremonial shell, delivered the verdict with the weight of ages. Your application for membership is denied. Humanity lacks the maturity required for galactic citizenship. You are among yourselves. You pollute your own world. You have nothing to offer this council except chaos. The words echoed through the chamber, and Chen felt the weight of humanity's hope crumble. He had prepared arguments, presentations, evidence of human achievement. None of it mattered. The decision had been made long before he arrived. "We understand," Chen said quietly. "We will not trouble you again." As the human delegation departed, none of the council members noticed the hardness in Chen's eyes, or the way his jaw set with determination. They saw only primitives dismissed and forgotten. 3 months later, the Vrexian Empire made its move. The Vrexians were apex predators elevated to starfaring status, a species that viewed the universe as hunting ground. They had been eyeing human space for years, testing boundaries, probing defenses. The Council's rejection of humanity was all the permission they needed. Meridian 7 was a farming colony, home to 30,000 souls who had traveled light years to build a new life. They grew food in vast hydroponics bays and raised children under alien skies. They were peaceful, productive, and utterly unprepared. The Vrexian warships arrived without warning, without declaration. They didn't negotiate. They didn't demand surrender. They simply opened fire. Captain Elena Vasquez was 3 systems away when the distress signal reached her ship. The Prometheus was an exploration vessel, lightly armed and designed for science, not combat. But Elena didn't hesitate. She ordered her crew to jump immediately. They arrived to find Meridian 7 burning. The agricultural domes were shattered, open to the void. Ships floated in pieces among the debris. And in the center of it all, a Vrexian dreadnought sat like a satisfied predator, its weapons still hot. Elena's communications officer, a young man named Marcus Webb, worked frantically at his station. "Captain, I'm picking up life signs. Emergency shelters in the southern hemisphere. Maybe 2,000 survivors. Get us there," Elena ordered. "And somebody tell me where that dreadnought is looking." Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka, studied her displays with narrowed eyes. "It's leaving, Captain. They're done here. They're just leaving. The rescue took 6 hours. 6 hours of pulling terrified colonists from underground bunkers, of seeing children who would never see their parents again, of listening to stories of the attack. The Vrexians had fired on evacuation ships. They had targeted the medical centers first. This wasn't war. It was extermination for sport. Among the survivors was a young girl, no more than 8 years old, clutching a burned, stuffed animal. She looked up at Elena with eyes too old for her face and asked a simple question. "Why didn't anyone help us?" Elena had no answer. She could only hold the child and feel rage building in her chest like a nuclear fire. The Prometheus limped back to human space with its cargo of survivors and dead. Elena sent her report to Earth Command and to the Galactic Council. She documented everything, provided evidence, demanded justice. The Council's response arrived 3 days later. It was a single sentence. "Internal affairs of non-member species fall outside Council jurisdiction." Elena read the message 3 times, each reading stoking the fire inside her. They wouldn't help. They wouldn't even acknowledge the crime. Humanity was on its own, dismissed as too primitive to matter, too weak to defend, too insignificant to avenge. She was still staring at the message when her first officer, Commander Robert Hayes, entered her ready room. Hayes was a veteran of the Mars Rebellion, a man who understood what it meant to fight impossible odds. "The crew wants to know what we're doing next," Hayes said carefully. Elena looked up at him, and he saw something in her eyes that made him straighten. It wasn't despair. It wasn't grief. It was clarity. "We're going hunting," she said simply. Over the next 2 months, humanity did something the galaxy didn't expect. They went quiet. Ships recalled from the frontier. Diplomatic channels went silent. Human colonies withdrew behind their borders and erected no trespass zones. To the Galactic Council, it looked like retreat, like a primitive species curling up to lick its wounds. They were wrong. In shipyards across human space, a transformation was underway. Every engineer, every physicist, every strategist turned their attention to a single question. How do you fight enemies with 10,000 years of technological advantage? The answer came from an unlikely source. Dr. Sarah Chen, no relation to the ambassador, was a xenotechnology specialist who had spent her career studying salvaged alien equipment. She stood before a room of military commanders and spoke words that would change everything. We can't outbuild them. We can't out-tech them. But we can outthink them. These species have been doing things the same way for millennia. They're predictable, conservative, locked into their own paradigms. We're not. She brought up a hologram of a Vrexian warship. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons and kinetic projectiles moving at certain velocities. Know what they're not designed for? Chemical explosives. Old-fashioned human explosives delivered at relativistic speeds in disposable shells. It's so primitive, their sensors don't even flag it as a threat. Admiral leaned forward. You want us to fight starships with bombs? Sarah smiled. I want us to fight starships with every dirty trick humanity ever invented. We use their assumptions against them. We make them think we're predictable, then we change the rules. The strategy became known as adaptive asymmetric warfare. Study the enemy, find their blind spots, exploit them mercilessly, then change tactics before they adapt. It was guerrilla warfare elevated to an interstellar scale. Elena's Prometheus became the testbed for these new tactics. Her exploration vessel was retrofitted with strange hybrid systems, human innovation married to salvaged alien tech in combinations no other species would consider. Stealth systems designed to mimic asteroid signatures, weapons that mixed technologies from 6 different civilizations, communications equipment that could crack alien encryption by approaching the math from entirely different angles. The Vrexian Empire, meanwhile, grew bolder. They hit another human outpost, then another. Each time they sent the same message. Humanity was prey and the Council would do nothing to stop them. They were teaching humanity a lesson. They didn't realize they were creating something far more dangerous, a unified human purpose. 4 months after Meridian 7, the Prometheus entered Vrexian space on a mission labeled as Deep Reconnaissance. Elena stood on her bridge, surrounded by her crew, and felt the weight of what they were about to do. All stations report ready. Captain? Hayes said quietly. Elena nodded. They had spent months preparing, training, adapting. Now came the test. Take us in, she ordered. Quietly. The ship slipped through Vrexian patrols like a ghost, using Sarah Chen's tricks to avoid detection. They weren't here to fight, not yet. They were here to listen, to watch, to learn. What they discovered changed everything. Marcus Webb worked at his communications station, filtering through Vrexian military traffic. Suddenly, he went rigid. Captain, you need to hear this. He played back a decoded transmission. Vrexian commanders discussing their next target, New Terra, humanity's largest colony. 3 million people. The attack was scheduled for 2 weeks, but there was more. In the transmission, a Vrexian admiral mentioned something else. The Council has been informed of our operations. They acknowledge our territorial expansion rights. The Council knew. They had known from the beginning. They hadn't just refused to help humanity. They had sanctioned the attacks. Elena felt something cold settle into her chest. The galaxy's great civilizations, the arbiters of law and order, had fed humanity to the wolves. They had judged humans as primitive and decided they didn't deserve to exist. Get us out of here, she said quietly, and get me a direct line to Earth Command. Everything changes now. As the Prometheus slipped back toward human space, Elena composed a message. Not to the Council, not to the Vrexians, but to every human being in settled space. They think we're weak, she wrote. They think we're primitive. They think we'll die quietly. It's time to show them what happens when you corner humanity. It's time to show them what we say when the universe pushes us. Go ahead. Try us. The message spread like wildfire across human worlds. And in shipyards, training centers, and research facilities across human space, people prepared for war. Not the war the galaxy expected, but the war only humanity could fight. Operation Silent Thunder was about to begin, and the universe would learn why humanity's greatest weapon was never its technology. It was its refusal to surrender, its capacity to adapt, and its willingness to rewrite every rule when survival was on the line. The Vrexians had awakened something ancient in the human spirit, the fury of a species that had clawed its way to the stars despite every obstacle. They were about to discover that humanity's defiance wasn't bravado, it was a promise. The reckoning 6 months after Meridian 7, the Vrexian Empire faced a problem they couldn't explain. Supply convoys vanished without distress calls. Patrol ships disappeared in sectors they had controlled for centuries. Mining operations went silent, their crews simply gone. At first, the Vrexians blamed pirates or equipment failures. Then the pattern became impossible to ignore. Someone was hunting them. In the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council, emergency sessions convened with increasing frequency. The Vrexian ambassador, a massive creature named Krath whose species measured status by scars earned in combat, stood before the assembly with barely contained rage. "Human terrorists are destabilizing our territory," Krath growled, his translator struggling with the aggression in his voice. "The council must intervene. These attacks violate every treaty of civilized warfare." The Archon Prime flickered with what might have been amusement. "You ask us to protect you from the species you have been exterminating?" The irony is noted. "They are primitives." Krath slammed a clawed fist against the podium. "They should not possess the capability for these attacks. Someone is supplying them with advanced technology." But investigations found nothing. No weapons shipments from other species, no illegal tech transfers. Nothing that explained how humanity had gone from easy prey to invisible threat in mere months. What the Council didn't know was that humanity had stopped trying to play by galactic rules. They had created their own. Captain Elena Vasquez stood in the war room of the newly commissioned Defiance, humanity's first true warship built with one purpose: to make the galaxy regret underestimating Earth. Around her, holographic displays showed a three-dimensional map of Vrexian space, marked with red indicators for completed operations and blue for upcoming targets. Commander Hayes pointed to a cluster of installations in the Helix sector. "Intelligence confirms this is their primary refueling depot for the battle group heading toward New Terra. 16 tanker ships, orbital refineries, and a garrison of about 3,000 personnel." "Defenses?" Elena asked. Lieutenant Tanaka brought up tactical data. "Heavy. They've tripled patrols after we hit their last 3 supply lines. Energy shields rated for Dreadnought-class weapons. Sensor arrays covering every approach vector they know about." Elena smiled. "Good thing we're going to use one they don't." Dr. Sarah Chen entered the room, followed by a young engineer named David Park. Park looked nervous, which was appropriate given what he was about to propose. "Show them," Sarah encouraged. Park activated a small device on the table. It was unremarkable, roughly the size of a human fist, composed of materials that looked almost crude compared to standard galactic technology. "This is what we're calling a chaos seed," Park explained, his confidence growing as he spoke about his creation. "It's a hybrid virus combining human computer code with adaptive algorithms we reverse-engineered from 6 different alien systems. The Vrexians have never seen anything like it because no other species thinks about programming the way we do." He manipulated the hologram, showing complex data streams. "Their systems are built on absolute logic structures, mathematically perfect but rigid. Our virus introduces randomness, uncertainty, controlled chaos. Their systems can't process it. They don't just fail, they corrupt surrounding systems trying to understand it." Hayes leaned forward. "How long until they can counter it?" "If they approach it logically, months, maybe years. But here's the beautiful part. The virus learns and mutates with each deployment. By the time they figure out one version, we've already seeded 3 new variants." Elena studied the device. This was humanity's edge, not superior technology, but superior creativity. While other species refined their ancient systems to near perfection, humans remained beautifully, dangerously unpredictable. "When do we deploy?" she asked. "The cargo drone enters their space in 6 hours, Sarah replied. "It's programmed to look like debris from one of their own ships. Their salvage teams will bring it aboard themselves." The plan worked perfectly. The Vrexians, always eager to reclaim resources, retrieved the debris and brought it into their primary depot station. Within an hour of connecting to their network, the Chaos Seed activated. Marcus Webb monitored the results from the Defiance, watching as panicked Vrexian communications filled the channels. "Captain, their entire grid is cascading. Life support fluctuating. Weapons offline, shields dropping in random sections. Send in the strike teams," Elena ordered. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. Small human ships, each carrying no more than a dozen personnel, slipped through the chaos in the Vrexian defenses. They didn't try to destroy the depot, that would be too expensive. Instead, they did something far more devastating. They stole it. Teams of engineers trained in rapid salvage operations systematically stripped the facility of everything valuable. Fuel reserves were redirected to hidden human tankers. Technology was downloaded and physically removed. The Vrexians, struggling to regain control of their own systems, could only watch as their strategic reserve vanished before their eyes. The entire operation took 4 hours. By the time Vrexian reinforcements arrived, the depot was an empty shell, and the human ships had scattered into jump routes no galactic species knew existed, because humans had mapped them the old-fashioned way, by taking risks and exploring where others feared to go. The effect on Vrexian morale was immediate and catastrophic. If humans could strike their most heavily defended installation with impunity, nowhere was safe. Ships began refusing patrol assignments. Garrison commanders demanded reinforcements. Fear, that most human of emotions, spread through their empire. But the Vrexians were not without pride. Krath himself took command of a retaliatory fleet, 100 warships representing the might of his empire. He would find the human base wherever they were hiding, and end this humiliation. Intelligence led him to the void reaches, a region of space considered too dangerous for regular travel due to gravitational anomalies and radiation storms. It was exactly where primitive humans would hide, using natural phenomena to mask their presence. The Vrexian fleet entered the reaches in battle formation, sensors at maximum, weapons primed. They were ready for anything except what they found. Nothing. The region was empty. No human base, no ships, nothing but the natural hazards that made the area notorious. Krath was about to order a withdrawal when his tactical officer noticed something impossible. The gravitational readings had changed. The anomalies that should have been constant had shifted position. They weren't natural at all. They were artificial gravity wells created by human ships using captured and modified alien technology. The entire region was a trap, and the Vrexian fleet was already inside it. Elena's voice came over every Vrexian communication channel, clear and cold. "You hunted us because you thought we were weak. You killed our people because you thought we couldn't fight back. You made one mistake. You assumed we would play by your rules." The gravity wells activated simultaneously. Vrexian ships designed for normal space operations found their navigation systems useless. Formations broke apart as vessels struggled against forces pulling them in different directions, and then the real attack began. Human ships emerged from hiding positions among the asteroids and radiation clouds. Not the large warships the Vrexians expected, but small, fast attack craft built for exactly this environment. They struck like sharks, firing weapons the Vrexians hadn't seen before. Kinetic harpoons that punched through shields designed only for energy weapons. Chemical explosives that their sensors registered as harmless. Electromagnetic pulse weapons that fried systems already struggling with the gravitational chaos. Krath watched his fleet torn apart by an enemy that refused to fight the way they were supposed to fight. Every tactical doctrine, every battle strategy developed over centuries was useless against opponents who rewrote the rules with each engagement. His flagship shuddered under a direct hit. Emergency alerts screamed across his bridge. A human attack craft swept past his view screen close enough for him to see the words painted on its hull. "Try us." The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, 76 Vrexian ships were destroyed or crippled. The remaining 24 fled in disorder. The humans had lost 9 craft with crews that would be mourned but never forgotten. More importantly, humanity had captured intact Vrexian vessels and, with them, access to their military networks. What they discovered in those networks shocked even Earth Command. The Vrexians weren't the only species attacking human space. The Council itself had secretly authorized resource reclamation in human territory, a bureaucratic phrase meaning systematic genocide. 6 other species had been preparing to divide human worlds among themselves, assuming the Vrexians would do the hard work of extermination. The galaxy hadn't just abandoned humanity. It had actively conspired to erase them. Commander Hayes read the intelligence reports with growing anger. They set us up. The Council rejection, the Vrexian attacks, all of it was coordinated. They were going to wipe us out and claim our territory. Elena felt a cold calm settle over her, the kind of calm that came before terrible decisions. Then we need to make sure every species in this galaxy understands something. Humanity will not die quietly, and we will not die alone. She opened a channel, not to Earth Command, but to every communication network they had infiltrated over the past 6 months. Human ingenuity had cracked alien encryption, piggybacked signals, and infiltrated databases across dozens of worlds. Now she would use that access. Her message went to every Council species, every independent world, every station and ship across 3 galactic arms. The transmission included full documentation of the Council's conspiracy, evidence of the planned genocide, and recordings of Vrexian commanders laughing about the slaughter of Meridian 7. People of the galaxy, Elena's voice carried across the stars. You have been told that humanity is primitive, violent, unworthy of civilized company. Your leaders decided we should be eliminated. Our worlds claimed, our species erased from history. We're here to tell you something important. We refuse. The hologram shifted to show human colonies, families, children growing up under alien skies. We came to space seeking friendship, knowledge, a place among the stars. Instead, we found predators who mistake kindness for weakness. So let us be clear about what happens next. The image changed to show the wreckage of the Vrexian fleet, the empty depot, the silent patrols that would never return home. We didn't start this war, but we will finish it. Every species that raised weapons against us, every government that sanctioned our destruction, every leader who thought humanity would simply disappear, you have made a catastrophic error. Elena's face filled the screen now, and beings across the galaxy saw something in her eyes that transcended species: absolute determination. We are humanity. We climbed from caves to starships. We split the atom and mapped our own genome. We turned deserts into gardens and built civilizations from nothing. We did all of this while fighting ourselves, overcoming our own demons, learning from our mistakes. Now we are united, and you have given us a purpose. You wanted to test us? Fine, go ahead, try us. But understand this: we will adapt, we will innovate, and we will survive. We will fight with weapons you've never imagined because we think differently than you. We will win battles you thought impossible because we don't accept your definitions of impossible. The transmission showed human faces from across settled space, young and old, every ethnicity and background, all sharing the same fierce resolve. This is not a threat. This is a promise. Humanity will not be erased, and those who tried to destroy us will learn what it means to awaken a species that has spent its entire history overcoming extinction-level challenges. Elena's final words echoed across the galaxy. We offered you peace. You chose war. Now face the consequences of underestimating Earth. The transmission ended, but its effects rippled across civilized space. On Council worlds, populations rioted, demanding answers from leaders who had hidden the genocide plans. On Vrexian territory, military commanders began refusing orders, unwilling to fight an enemy that had defeated their best fleet. Independent species, long oppressed by Council authority, saw humanity's defiance as inspiration. The galaxy was fracturing, and at the center of it all stood humanity. No longer victims, no longer supplicants, but a force that would shape the future on their own terms. In the Defiance war room, Elena watched the chaos unfold with satisfaction. Sarah Chen stood beside her, reviewing intelligence reports from across known space. 17 species have withdrawn from Council authority, Sarah reported. 8 more are demanding reforms. The Vrexian Empire is experiencing internal rebellions. Their subject species are using our tactics against them. Hayes added his own assessment. We're receiving contact requests from over 40 independent governments. They want to talk, to trade, to ally with us. Elena nodded slowly. And the Council? Silent. The Archon Prime called for an emergency session, but half the delegates didn't show up. Their authority is collapsing. This was the moment Elena had been working toward, not just defeating their enemies, but changing the entire galactic order. Humanity hadn't just survived the attempt to destroy them. They had exposed the corruption at the heart of galactic civilization and offered an alternative, a universe where strength came from adaptability, where newcomers weren't crushed but embraced, where different ways of thinking were assets rather than threats. A new transmission arrived, this one marked with the highest priority codes. It was from the Archon Prime itself, a being that had ruled the Council for 3,000 years. Humanity. The Archon's voice carried a weariness that transcended time. The Council recognizes its error. We offer full membership, voting rights, and reparations for damages. We ask only for peace. Elena looked at her crew, these humans who had fought impossible odds and won, who had proven that newcomers to the stars could teach ancient civilizations new lessons. She thought about the children of Meridian 7, about the colonies that had burned, about every human who had died because the galaxy thought them worthless. Then she composed her response. The Galactic Council as currently constituted is obsolete. Humanity proposes a new order, the Commonwealth of Free Worlds, open to all species, governed by elected representatives rather than ancient powers, built on principles of mutual respect and shared innovation. We invite the Council species to join us not as rulers but as equals. Those who prefer the old ways are welcome to keep them, but they will not dictate terms to others ever again. She paused, then added the final line. You asked us to prove we deserve a place among the stars. We've done more than that. We've proven that the stars themselves need humanity. The question now is whether you're wise enough to accept it. The message sent, Elena turned to her crew. Get me a line to all the species who've been reaching out. We have a commonwealth to build. As the Defiance set course for the first of many diplomatic meetings, Captain Elena Vasquez looked out at the stars and smiled. Humanity had been tested, had been pushed to the edge of extinction, had been told they were too primitive to matter. They had responded not with surrender but with innovation, not with despair but with determination, not with acceptance of their place but with redefinition of what was possible. The universe had learned its lesson the hard way. Never underestimate a species that greets every challenge with defiant words that would echo across the ages. Go ahead, try us.